Hello, everyone. This is Gramma Moe, and we're doing a new thing here today with my childhood friend, Lisa D from CT and Grandma Moe. And we are the East Coast to the West Coast, and we both love hoops, and we both love having fun talking to each other. So
that's right.
Going to have a discussion on a couple of the games, a couple of the players, and what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
So with that, one of the games we wanted to cover was the Liberty and Vegas. So, Lise, what'd you think?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I can't believe I actually, since the start of the season on the 16th, sat through 10 freaking games of Bounce the Basketball. I mean, it was a lot of action. You and I have discussed about, oh my God, you can't cover all the games. You got to be able to pick 2 games and just go with that because it's just too much. Now, I enjoyed the Liberty game. It was kind of weird seeing the Liberty play the Aces, who were the champs, but now had to watch them get their rings and the banner raised. That had to sting. That had to sting just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sure did.
But I personally, not their best outing as far as the Aces go. I think Liberty were on point. Cloud was outstanding.
Yes,
Ionescu, she was, I don't know, she didn't hit her spot yet, but she'll get there. And I think all in all, they had a great game. Aces did not. How about you?
Yeah, I rewatched it this morning before we got together, and Jackie Young was keeping them in that game. Jackie Young and Asia Wilson, and when I first watched the game, I thought that the Liberty had won by more, but the truth is that the Aces were hanging in there.
They were.
Even though, like, Jewel Lloyd was you almost didn't even notice her on the floor. But Jackie Young was hitting a lot of threes.
She's pretty quiet. Yeah, she's pretty quiet so far.
Yeah, that's going to be a weird thing for her because she's going from being the leading scorer on the Seattle team to being, just another one of the Aces.
Well, that's the beauty of this league this year is that there's so many changes. There's just so many changes on teams that you can't really pick a bad team.
Yeah.
Now at the New York game, right? Over 17,000 people were in attendance.
Yep.
How could you cry at that? That's awesome. For women's sports. Great to see them expand so well,
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. I enjoyed every ounce of it.
Oh, yeah. And then Kennedy Burke and Sabali. How do you say her first name? Sabali. Nira.
Everybody got to have a name I can't pronounce. I have a hard enough time with my own damn name. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. That's why I go with the last names. It's like old school, like back in the day. Like we
Sue
all
did.
We call people by their last names. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I thought the Aces, in that particular game, it was lack of communication. They were getting the ball low to Asia. It was a bad outing for them. I know Gray was pissed. She kept yelling, let's talk, let's communicate, Yeah. And I was glad to see her start because she had an injury start last year. But, they're good. They're a good team. It's going to take a while.
They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
But I'm not crying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not crying yet.
They'll be in it when the time comes.
Exactly.
Major injury.
Yeah. What did you think about Cloud? I was so glad she was in New York.
Oh my God. I thought that was the best pickup of the season. Yeah. She's such a good point guard and she's so good on defense and she's relentless. She's relentless. She had 22 points. She had 22 points and shot 47% from the field, had 9 assists.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know. I was looking at the stats too, and I was like, holy cow. I mean, for her first, outing with them, I was like, she got 2 quick fouls on somebody in the fourth. And I'm like, ooh, that's gotta tick off New York. I mean, Aces, that she can, antagonize fouls so quickly, but she's good. She's a great player,
She is.
I thought Jewel Lloyd struggled in that game.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. She did. You didn't I was like, oh, there's Jewel Lloyd. Saw her by her number, and I don't know if she did score, she only scored like once or twice. It wasn't noticeable.
No, at all.
Yeah. So the other game that we both agreed on was the Mystics, who are the surprise team of this season so far.
They're looking good.
And they've been a surprise too. So what'd you think of that game?
Which game? Mystics in Atlanta or Connecticut? Against the Sun. Against the Sun, I actually was thinking you were going to go with Atlanta, but you tell me and then I'll figure out which game. No, go ahead.
Well, the Mystics and the Sun, that was like a back and forth. Connecticut went out to an early lead, and then the Mystics came back.
Right. That's when everybody got in foul trouble.
Yes.
See, it took me a second. Oh yeah, that was a scrappy game.
It was a very scrappy game. Yep.
I liked it. I like scrappy games.
Yeah,
blood never hurt anybody.
Yeah, Sonia Citron was very noticeable on the court.
She has been in the 2 games I've seen. She's been awesome. I mean, these rookies are so polished coming in, after,
she looks like a vet. She looks like she belongs. She's just drives to the hoop unafraid, just goes right in against the bigs. No problem.
That's what I was going to say. Totally. It doesn't affect them. I think colleges do such a great job, preparing them for, what's ahead. You can't, prepare yourself completely, but I'm like, you wouldn't know that this girl was a rookie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. She's averaging 10 points and shooting 63% from the field. Yeah,
that I did see.
Incredible.
Because I was checking her because she was on our list of who to talk to next. Yeah. And I was, so I was really, she's 6'1", came from Notre Dame. I didn't know she was a 3rd round pick in the draft this year. I had no clue. I really didn't know anything. I had a 1st round pick, 3rd. She went 3rd.
Yeah, she went 3rd.
Beckers went 1st. There was such hoopla over Beckers. I don't know if I ever really, her and Juju were like the big, so I don't think I really heard too much about her, but she's awesome. I can't wait to see what she does this year.
Yeah, Hidalgo and Olivia Miles kind of were the, name runners on Notre Dame, and she was kind of the afterthought. And boy, oh boy, she's been terrific. She's just been really solid. Yeah. I
like the Mystics this year, and I can't really, not since probably Elena Deladon have I said I have,
Yeah, who was on that team?
Huh? You know what I mean? Huh?
Who was on that team?
Who, on Deladon team?
Yeah, Natasha Cloud.
Yeah, well, there you go.
She's part of that team. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So I mean, but the fact it's like playing chess. Everybody's slowly moving and figuring out what they're supposed to do, and it ought to be exciting this year. What are you watching tonight? What game you watching tonight?
Yeah, we have. There's 3 games. I thought there was only 2, but I looked.
I'm doing Dallas. You got Valkyries tonight. Your team.
Yeah, the Valkyries are playing tonight, and then let me see here.
Can't wait to see your review. I'm going to look for that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. There's not, I only have 1 game to go on, and then they're playing the Mystics.
Yeah, so there you go. It's a great. That's
Dallas
a great
Minnesota. Game. Dallas and Minnesota, 3 hours and 42 minutes away, and then we have Washington and the Valkyries, and that place is going to be rocking. They call it Ball Holla. I think they just say Ball Holla.
Yeah.
And I think it's something from the Warriors. I've got to research that. I'm not exactly sure how that came about, but everybody loves it around here. And then you have the Sparks and the Mercury. That's probably going to be a really good game. That's on the same time as the Valkyries and the Mystics. Yeah, but the Mystics have played 2 games already, and now they're going cross country to play the Valkyries, and the Valkyries have only played 1 game, and they've been off for a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's going to be interesting.
This is your shining moment. This is your shining. Well, one team will be rested, the other one will be exhausted, but that's okay. Yeah. They'll all show up and play. You know?
Yeah, they will. Oh, geez.
As long as somebody. Hey, it's all right. It's the dogs. Dogs just want to have fun. The what was I going to say? The what are you looking forward to on the Valkyries? Who are you looking forward to see playing tonight?
Well, the matchups are intriguing me, like just preliminarily. The matchups between who's going to cover Citron, who's going to cover Iriafin. I'm figuring that Monique Billings and Kayla Thornton are going to handle Iriafin. And then, Citron probably, I'm guessing Tiffany Hayes is going to cover her. And then you have Burton and you have Van Loo. Van Loo played for the Mystics last year, so she's going to know them. I mean, not that they're the same team anymore, but she did play with some of those players. She's really exciting. I like Julie Van Loo. She hit like 3 3-pointers. And then there was like an inbounds play with 1 second left in their game. And it was just like, got it to her and she just threw it up off the backboard, bank in. The crowd went wild among, other times too. But she's pretty exciting.
The last game too, which tonight, we were talking the other night about Dolson, and Jesus, like in the stretch, she's just like bing with the threes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's a good three-point shooter.
Yeah, she's a big girl. I had looked up my mother's always like, how tall are they? How much do they weigh? I'm like, don't worry about it. They're a wall, and if you hit them, you're going to go down. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's not a lot of bigs, although Jonquel Jones can do that. But I mean, that can really shoot a really good three and rely upon it. She hit some at the end of the game, and I'm like, look at her go.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down. She's 6'5", 235 pounds.
Yeah, she's a big girl.
I mean, to run up and down.
Yeah,
you don't want to run into that. You don't want to run into that pick.
Yeah,
I'd be on my.
You don't want to run into her.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like Paige did at the other game. She ping pong. Then pinballed her way through it. They're learning. So then we went for the games. Then we went to, because I know you love Citron. Hit it. Tell me what you like the best about, you were talking this week. You said 6 to 7, 6-7 shooting from the field. Like I said, a lot of attentions went to Beckers. I wish that they had concentrated on her a little bit more, because I'm impressed with her play.
Yeah, for me, it's the eye test. I don't usually pay attention to stats. Just like the New York game, Brianna Stewart was just playing her game. She had 25 points.
I know she's had the highest. Yeah.
I didn't even oh my goodness. She was, but you didn't notice that because Brianna Stewart is so in the flow of her game. And that's what I notice about Citron. She lets the game come to her. She's not forcing it. You see that with certain players where they'll just take the ball and no one wants to see someone dribble the ball down and just shoot it, you know? And they work the ball around and someone gets an open lane to drive to the hoop, or they get an open shot and they take it. Yeah. And that is it's much nicer to see. And Citron plays that way. And she doesn't look frazzled at all. She doesn't look overwhelmed. She just is going out there and playing just like she would have in college.
I know.
And it's awesome. Really impressive to see. And, she looks like she's having fun and she's doing really well. I mean, that's
not
what I see. And
right. How could you not? You got really close back in the day to be able to play. I mean, imagine if, I would say, well, no, I mean, I certainly would have tried out. I think at tops, as you get older, you start shrinking. I said that's so they could fit you right in the urn. But anyway, at tops, I was like 5'8", which, you could play in the league, but that's kind of small nowadays.
Nowadays everybody's over 6 feet. There's a few people, like Dana Evans is 5'6", and that's what I was. I was 5'6", but I wasn't like the players that I played against in camps and stuff that were, if there was a WNBA at that time, they were fat. Like if we had to run from one end of the court to the other, oh my God, they'd blow by me. But half court, I was quick enough to stay with them, and I could defend, and I was a decent shooter, but we were also playing with the big ball and we were playing with no 3-point line.
Exactly.
Not that, but that's all we knew. So
you played like outside and stuff like that. These girls are like, the training facilities that they have and what they go through. I think Paige Beckers even has like a chip in her shoe that actually shows the, the calories burned and all the other stuff and steps that she makes. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and they were doing something like that in Unrivaled. They had a thing. People were questioning this thing on their shorts. there's like this piece on the back of the shorts, and it tracks their every movement.
Yep.
Oh my God, things have come a long way since.
Yeah, imagine that.
Shooting outside of a schoolyard hoop.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, I did want to mention there was one touching moment this week that in Connecticut versus the Aces, and the Aces, they just destroyed them. But hopefully, we'll see what happens. They're rearranging their whole team, and I love Tina Charles, and she repped Asia Wilson. She wore her sneakers, the A1s during the entire game, and then she had her sign them at the end, and they switched sneakers and stuff. I'm like, that's so cool.
That's cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's really,
cool.
Not that Asia was like, I thought that was really great. She's a good representative for the league, but there's going to be another up and coming.
Yep, they're all
star.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, go right ahead. What's your next player?
So we talked about having like a flop of the week. So, like what game was the worst game, or an incident, or something?
Or something you were surprised about. I have mine. My flop of the week has been Dallas.
Yeah,
they need to. Like I said, they need to get their crap together, and they on paper they look freaking awesome. But then they get to play, and it's together. Like, no, they're not, and spread the floor, and somebody be under there's nobody under the basket. Enrique's shooting like haymakers. I'm like, I get it. You're a great player. She's probably used to the ball going in, but Paige is really good at passing. And I've been impressed with her, but we'll see what happens. It's going to change. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that? What was your flop? What game were you like?
My flop, it's not necessarily a flop, but I was thinking,
because really what a flop is.
Yeah, this isn't a game. It's something that happened. Ann Myers was given an award by the Kobe Bryant organization. And the reason I call it a flop is because Ann Myers is almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
I remember her when I was in high school. She was the first one that made it to TV. And then you had Lynette Woodard making the she went playing with the Globetrotters. And then you had Carol Blazejowski, and you had Nancy Lieberman. And then, and then that kind of led to Cheryl Miller and the USC teams. And then you had Pat Summitt, Tennessee, and, Louisiana Tech, and Kim Mulkey. And they just started to put it on TV. But why I'm calling, she's almost 70. This should have happened like 40 years ago.
No. Well,
Ann Myers was a great player, and all the younger people don't know about her, but she was a great player for UCLA, and she tried out for the Pacers, and they gave her like a contract, and everybody was against it, and I just thought it was like, okay, here's like, okay, we're gonna stick a flag here because we're gonna make this a moment. And everybody thought it was a PR stunt, and everybody's bad mouthing it. But I thought it was like, okay, cool. And I played from 80 to 84, and I thought, okay, we're going to be close. I'll get to play professional basketball. No, wrong. 13 years later.
I know.
Yeah.
And were you a little pissed when they finally were like, I'm like, oh, geez, figures. Like story of my life.
I was sad. I wasn't mad. I was just sad. Yeah. I was just sad that I missed it. And, I was too old by then, and I hadn't been playing. If I had been playing all along, I might have tried out, but I was 35.
I'm just sad I can't even run to the mailbox anymore. Never mind up and down the court. I get tired watching them have to go back and forth. I'm like, holy crap, we used to do that.
Yeah, jeez, I know. I remember being able to jump.
Yeah.
That was a fun feeling. Yeah.
It's easy. I like this position to be able to just watch the game. There's no sweat involved. There is one other flop, though, I have to say. Jesus, the amount of fouls this week were ridiculous. Yeah. Either they got to, take the peas out of the whistles and let them play. Right. But my God, that was, that was just brutal. And who do you want to watch? It's got to be Valkyries. Who do you want to?
Yeah, well, the Valkyries. I'm trying to focus on the Valkyries because they're a new team, and I still live like 4 hours away, but it's still the closest thing I have to a team. And it's just been
Because
so
you're
nice
on.
that it's finally here, and the crowds are amazing. I mean, they got 18,000 plus at the Chase Center, and everybody's loving it. And I will just love it if I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're going to hustle. They're going to try really hard, and they're going to be in most games. I mean, they probably will get blown out by a team here and there, but I don't think that's going to be too often because they're a group of, and they have a good bench. And they just got that player who won MVP of the Italian League.
Yeah.
Janelle, I think it's Saloon or Salon.
I think it's Salon. I don't. Here we go. Another one. Can we have a nickname?
She's going to be
something?
Yeah. I looked, and she's going to be out for tonight's game. And then I can't wait for Zandalicini and Stephanie Talbot to be able to play. They're both out. They have injuries. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the Valkyries. Yeah. But what game are you looking like before?
I'm going to watch Minnesota tonight because my friend Courtney Williams, they look awesome anyway.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they just look like such an incredible unit. Like they just play so well together.
They do.
But again, they really haven't, they haven't had too many huge changes.
Yeah.
Where a lot of these other teams have. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, okay, we've done this before. Let's go again. And their coach is really hard on them, which I love. You know, I mean, she tells it straight. She was busting them on Courtney, like, I don't know how many freaking turnovers you had during the preseason. It was a lot. So her very first game, she was like, they kept putting 0 turnovers, because the coach said that. I'm like, yeah.
Well, you turn over the ball, you're going to lose most of the time. So
it was a great week, Maureen. That's all we could say. It was a good week for the WNBA. They made a lot of money.
I was very happy. I was so content to watch all these games, and I rewatched some of them.
It was great to look and just from typing back and forth to each other, we reconnected after 40 freaking years.
Oh, I know.
I know. We should get an award for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll get an award with
3,000 miles away. Yeah.
I'll get an award with him dead.
Yeah.
She's dead. Thanks.
That's great.
Yeah, no, it was great. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of games coming up, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, to covering it with you. If you're willing to we'll do the same thing. We'll pick because there's too many games. We'll pick 2 games, and maybe I'll actually write down the one that you want to go over. Although I did watch them all. And we'll do the same thing. But it was a great week.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay. So I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.